Welcome back to the MODUS Super Series, where we saw recently the finals of the WDF World Championships at the iconic Lakeside Country Club on Frimley Green. Shane McGurk, Super Series regular. Bo Greaser, of course, has won in this building before. Archie Self and Paige Pauling picking up the titles. Perhaps the busiest man at Lakeside that week was Scott Mitchell, who joins me in the studio now. Before we talk about the winners and before we talk about the event as a whole, I just want to talk about generally just the atmosphere around that tournament, and just even after all these years, how iconic a venue the Lakeside Country Club still is.
Yeah, very much so. It's a place where people of my age, it's the place. You know, it's you walk in the place and you've seen everything on the TV before from varying years, and you know, for me as a former winner, it just makes the hair stand up on the back of my neck every time you walk in, even when you haven't got a dart in your hand. It's just iconic, and there are still people that love and wish to have a place to get there and play.
4 champions. We'll talk about them in just a second, but first things first, let's talk about what was eventually the story of the tournament. Paul Lim, 70 years of age, rolling back the years, going through to the final. And you know what? At 5-3, I think people started to believe that the Singapore Slinger could pile on the comeback.
Yeah, I mean, for us, we were obviously popping up onto the TV in breaks, and we were thinking, oh, this will be the last time we'll be seen. This will be the, and he'd come back and he started reeling off leg after leg. But he'd been doing that the whole championship to everybody, really. The lesser, there's nobody more experienced than Paul Lim in the championship, but the newer guys, and it was their first time, and he was just playing that steady game. It was like a flat line average, and if you went under that, he got you. And as players struggled with Paul's pace and what have you, his experience shone through.
Well, Shane McGurk won't care about fairy tales. He'll just care about the cheque that he's going to cash with that £50,000 that he won by winning that tournament. And if the truth be told, if Paul Lim was the story of the tournament, Shane McGurk was the player of the tournament, didn't drop a set en route to the final, was averaging in excess of 90 for a tournament average the whole way through. The best player won the championship.
Yeah, absolutely. He's not one that you would have put your money on right on that day one, but he kind of grew into it, didn't he? He set his stall. And again, like I said with Paul Lim, he flatlined at what he was doing. And then towards the end of the week, that he knew he just needed to do what he needed to do to get over the line. He wasn't panicking. And what a great thing for Irish darts, because, you know, we've got Irish players in the PDC, we've got them, you know, Republic of Ireland, obviously, and we have them come through here. And I think if you spoke to Shane, he would pay a lot of what he did through being here, because you know, playing on the stage, on the TV, it wasn't that new to him, you know. So you know, the Super Series sort of wins again as well.
Is that the big difference? Because you've been involved in the game for many years, and I remember we've spoken before about when you made your debut on TV that you've never had anything like it before, then you wait a year to play one game, whereas particularly for somebody like Shane, who we've seen his development here over the course of a couple of years now, he went into that debut and he wasn't an unknown quantity, he wasn't phased by the stage, and then when he hit that 9-for-9 against Edwin Tom Bjornsson in the second round, we then realised this is not a player that can contend, this is a player that can win.
Absolutely, and another reason for that is because Edwin had been here as well, so he wasn't fresh to the stage either. So you knew that he wasn't really too worried about everything. I think it absolutely attribute. You're right. You know, in my day, you went to Lakeside, you qualified. It was your first time. The big stage, the lights, the attention from sort of family and friends back home where you're from. It's all very different. But the guys now, you know, you get that wrong in 1 year. You go out first round. It took me a year to get back to try and remember the mistakes from the year before. Here, they're getting that experience 25 games a week. So they're getting that in a week. And I think that has contributed to a lot of how many of the players sort of made those latter stages.
And do you think actually, as a consequence, because more players are playing in tournaments like this and setups like this, playing in front of cameras, not just here, but for the senior players, they've got 4 TV events a year. You've got other tournaments that get streamed around the world too. The fact they get more exposure to this, unlike ever before, do you think over time we're going to see a raise in standard of that competition? Because maybe at times nerves played a big part at the Lakeside back in the day.
Absolutely did. You know, it was a big telling factor, and I think the word we're looking for is opportunity. There is more opportunity for players now to play under this kind of limelight than we've ever had before. So does it make it any less is it any less for the players? No, it still means as much. But I think the fact of the matter is, it's like driving a tractor, mate. If I drive a tractor every day of the week, I'm going to be better at it than you. Because if you only drive it one day a week, and it just stands to reason. So the more you do it, the better you get at it, and the more you get used to it. And I applaud it. I just wish I was 10 years younger.
Let's talk about the women's competition. And what more can we say about Bo Grease, a 3-time Lakeside champion? But this time around, maybe not at her glittering best, but even with that in mind, she was still able to dominate the field.
For me, the pressure that she must be under all the time, and I mentioned it, that she is probably the greatest dart player that we've ever seen in the women's game. And I don't mean that because she's only 20. We forget that she's only 20 because she was dominating the youth scene as well. And I'm not comparing that to like Trina's 10 world titles. That is just totally amazing. But I'm talking about her levels. Her levels, she's doing things that we've never seen ladies darts do before. Fallon was doing them before that. Now Bo's doing them. But the lady I want to sort of have a little say about is Sophie McKinley. Sophie played in both competitions. The youth competition got extended, so she was having more to contend with. And she was a massive story. And she, to come through, beat Lisa Ashton first game. And she had a tough old run all the way through. And then when she went 1-0 up in the final against Bo was kind of a little bit apprehensive of the whole situation because she was such a red-hot favourite to win that. I think that played on her mind. But she came through it. She got a set under her belt, and then it was the Bo we know and love, and away she went.
And for Sophie, what an experience it was for her, and also an opportunity to really build. I think she was a player that people knew of, but maybe in terms of her game, maybe didn't know inside out. Well, we know a lot more about her now, and if she can carry on improving at the rate of knots that she has done recently, there really is a player on our hands here, and maybe in the future a potential challenger for Bo.
And always in big championships like that, the crowd loved the underdog as well. So Sophie had an awful lot of support. Although she's Scottish and it was being played way down south in England, she had an awful lot of support, and it's something that she's never had to contend with before. She's quite a shy and an introvert type of person, but you know that when she gets up there, puts a dart in her hand and puts her foot to the oche, she has something special inside. She has the fire inside and the passion to want to play well and to know how to deal with situations. And she really impressed me. For an 18-year-old kid, when you think the ladies' final was contested by an 18-year-old and a 20-year-old.
38 combined age.
That's where the women's game is right now.
And you also look at some of the young players coming through, and you look at their actions, you look at their demeanours on the stage. We've reached that point where that next generation of female players coming through look more and more like the complete packages.
Yeah, absolutely. I think so. And another player I'd like to say about is Nicole Renault.
Oh.
Nicole, I mean, she's just in a position where she's down in New Zealand and probably can't find the players of a standard that she needs to be finding, and she gets to have them once a year. You can see that there's just an absolutely amazing player inside, oozing to get out at one of these World Championships. And if she makes it back, I think, she's going to be another one to look out for the future.
Let's stay with the female competition, talk about the girls, because Paige Pauling won that. Now, I was watching her semi-final game on Saturday, and I've watched a bit of Paige, obviously on YouTube streams and things like that, but it's the first time I've actually properly got to sit down and watch her play. And the first thing that struck for me was the action. Absolutely Rolls Royce. Not much that can go wrong with it. And when that first dart hit, you expected big scores to come.
Yeah, she's a first dart follower. There's no two ways about it. When she gets the first dart right, she gets the rest of it right. But I think, for one, she's still quite young. I think she's got another 2 chances to come back. So she could be a 3-time youth champion if things go right. But there's always the next Paige Pauling sat behind waiting to come through in the way the system works. I've played with Paige in England setups and stuff, and she's been a really shy character, and that's the most I've seen her starting to come out of the interviews. She's starting to feel comfortable with what she's doing. And yeah, she really impressed me. And also the game against Sophie McKinley, they're best mates. They were in each other's pockets the whole week wandering around the place. So to go there and play your best mate and have the nonchalance to be able to, and the brain power to be able to go and beat your mate, it's always the hardest game.
And we can actually tell you that Paige Pauling is going to be featuring in our Women's Week, which takes place in the first week of 2025. Now, she's got the experience of winning on the Lakeside stage, and she's going to be playing some of the best female players in the world on that stage. More and more experience for her. And if we learned something about the last few days, is whatever the stage, whatever the experience, she doesn't get fazed by it.
No, she'll be ready for the challenge, and I know I have actually spoken to her about it last night, and she is very much looking forward to it. That's her next thing now. She'll be preparing for that from now till past Christmas, and yeah, she's looking forward to being here for the first time.
What about Archie Self? What a revelation he's been the last year or so. Beat Jensen Walker, who probably went into that final as the favourite to go on a win. He was a #1 seed for the competition. But one thing that stood out with Archie was somebody of his age to be so cool, calm, measured in the biggest game of his life. That says a lot about a testament to his temperament more than anything else, as well as his incredible ability.
Yeah, absolutely. I've known Archie for 3 or 4 years maybe, and his temperament hasn't always been there. His temperament has been his downfall in the past, but the way that he's developed into the player that we saw yesterday, Jensen, yes, was a massive favourite. Yes, it was his last youth game, so he had the pressure of that. Yes, you know, it's the only thing he hasn't won, Jensen, and that was his last chance to go around. I think the moment got to him partly in that game. I think he was overthinking. But then you have to look at Archie Self and go, Archie knew that. His maturity made him know that Jensen was under more pressure than he was. And he played it like an absolute underdog. And when you say, you know, his maturity, you know, just 15. He's you know, it's just amazing to see. And then when he had his chances against Jensen, he pounced, he jumped in, he took the advantage, and he's another one that's got another couple of years there still. He could get his name on that again.
You were commentating on the championships, and particularly towards the latter end of the tournament. Where would you say the Lakeside Championship, the WDF World Championship, is at this present moment in time? The third year of it. The first year was very successful, and it's fair to say there's been a fair bit of transition over the last couple of years. Where would you say the state of play is now?
There had to be a transition period because of the way that the BDO ended. And because the BDO were running the Lakeside effectively for the WDF, that meant that there was always going to be a transitional change. There was going to be new people involved. So it was never going to be as smooth as you'd hoped. Obviously, things have gone on through the WDF in the last couple of years to get it to where it is now. And I think the championship's in a really good place at the moment. As a tournament, we're finding players from all around the globe. The way that the system is now set up, you know, you're not at a disadvantage if you're not in Europe. Where in the past, that's been the case. If you're in Europe, you're at a massive advantage, and they were only taking one player from varying other areas. Well, we're now getting more. And I think that evenness of the field is making it a fairer competition. Yes, maybe some of the early rounds we're finding players now that are coming from places that have never even played on a stage before, and that's maybe trying to get them. But I think as the WDF develops the World Championships, as it continues to go on, these players are going to find that experience, and maybe they're going to be tied in and maybe get weeks here as well when they're over, and that would help them no end. But I think that it's in quite a good place. We know that it's going back to Lakeside for another year now. The TV coverage, we're still sort of up in the air about, but it's looking very good. The viewing figures were good. So once you can find yourself a TV platform, then you've got something.
Is it all about then the foundations? And I suppose in the 21st century market, there almost feels like a necessity for things to happen quickly, for things to happen now. But actually what the WDF have done is maybe taken a little bit of medicine, built the foundations of a tournament, but actually now the foundations look as if they're set in place. There's room for it to grow as the years go along. Yeah,
absolutely. And I think the one thing that the WDF are is they're open-minded. They're open-minded to change for the better. I don't think they're trying to be anybody else. They've got to have their own niche in the market and do it their own way, and I think they realise that. Social media is an absolute nightmare for all associations at this particular moment in time. Everybody has an opinion on it, varying things from the silliest, minutest thing about a walk-on or whatever. If you start reading all that stuff, you destroy your own your own organisation, but I think the WDF are bigger than that, and you know, you got to say Nick Rolls as a general secretary at the WDF has been absolutely immense in squaring things up. He's not able to ref. He's kind of given up his refereeing spot because of the work that he does for the WDF on those days. And yeah, I think it's going to a nice place and another organisation, another opportunity for players. It's another place we find more different players. It can't be a bad thing, can it?
Yeah, and I think we should actually give a massive shout out to Nick, who's done a great job of that, and also a really good guy. Just finally, are we going to see a Scotty Dog Mitchell at Lakeside in the near future?
Look, who knows? You know, I'm at that. I'm coming to my twilight years, aren't I? But I'm still playing okay, so I want to go back to Q School and we'll go from there. We'll see what happens from Q School, and if I don't get a card, then we've got decisions to make, and we'll see where we go. Twilight years. Paul Lynn made a world final at 70. Well, that means I've got another same amount of years as I've already done then in the game. So, yeah, I'm looking forward to that. So is the wife, I'm sure. Scott, thank you. Thank you for your company as well. Congratulations to Shane McGirt, Bo Greaves, Paige Paulin, and Archie Self on winning the 2024 Lakeside World Championships.
I feel a lot less nervous than last time.
Can you remember what I said, Mason?
I said stop moving your body.
No, I said stop missing.
Sometimes I feel like I get more lucky if I wear my lucky trousers. Oh, I would love to play the World Cup.
Dab in there, that's it. World Cup.
I think we would be incredible pairs partners in the World Cup one day.
Another one.
No, you're going to go for the 141.
Oh, really?
I'll go for the 180.
Team 9 data.
Yeah, it was an incredible experience. Sometimes I feel like I get more lucky if I wear my lucky trousers.
Yeah, I was gaining like 10,000 subs a month in lockdown.
I got picked on for being different, but when I played darts, I was allowed to be me.
Like, oh, you're running around like a madman, and blah, like, yeah, never seen you so happy. I was like, what?
I did actually give him a little bit of advice. Can you remember what I said, Mason?
I said stop moving your body.
No, I said stop missing.
Yeah.
I'm not going to actually. I'll put it there later. I'll end up pulling it off the wall. I told you.